Today's concept is IAM policy or AWS IAM policy. So, what is IAM policy? So, IAM policy is a set of permission which can be attached to a user, resource, or a role. Okay, so we already seen in our last video who is the user, how to create the user, right? So here resources in the sense AWS services, okay, like EC2, S3 bucket. These are the services, right? So we can attach the policies to the resources also. And what is role? We'll see it in a future video. Means we can attach the policies to our roles also. We can create a particular role and we can attach the policies. So policies is a set of permission which can decide when it is attached to the user can get the permission to access the services. Okay, we'll see it in detail. So for the interview purpose, the definition will be IAM policies is a policy is a set of permission which can be attached to the user, resource, or a role. Okay, so now let's move to the next concept. So we'll see the basic structure of an policy. Okay, how the policy looks like, right? So here this is the basic structure or the components of the policy. So it has a statement. We can write the multiple statement in a single policy. So each statement will have these things, right? One is SID. Okay, SID, effect, action, principle, and resources. So what is SID? SID is a security identifier. Means you can give the name of that particular policy. Okay, what you are which type of permission you are allocating, right? So that name you can give just like a identifier. So effect is a effect will be two values like a allow or deny, right? So you are allowing the permission or you are denying the permission. Only two things will be there. So action is the permission or a specific Amazon operation to which permission will be mapped. So here action in the sense what you are trying to do, right? So if you are trying to read the S3 bucket, then action will be read, right? If you are trying to upload some object into S3 bucket, then put is the action here, right? So these are the actions. So these actions will be different for each services. Okay, then principle is nothing but who is assuming that policy, means who want the permission, right? Who want the permission. Suppose in my case a service wants the permission or a user wants the permission, then principle will be that user or a service, right? So if you go for a definition, user account principle means user account associated with the policy. User account associated with the policy like a user account and a service. So whoever is associated with that policy is the principal. Okay, so resource means to which access permissions are attached. To which access permissions are attached. Suppose on which you need a permission, what you trying to access, right? So that is a resource. I am trying to access the S3 bucket, so that is my resource, right? For that only I need a permission, right? Suppose I am assuming that policy means I am a principal here, and what action I need? Action is I want to read that S3 bucket, means list that S3 bucket. So list is the action here, right? Effect will be allow, means I want a permission, means you need to allow me the permission. So this is how guys we need to generate the policy. Okay, so if you are clear with these things, then you can easily write the policy. So let me show you an example policy. See, this is my example policy. Okay, so always the policy start with the version. So version may be your date when the policy is written. Okay, you can write your date. So statement, in a statement you can write multiple blocks, right? You can write the multiple blocks, so using the separate SIDs. So SID we already seen, the security identifier. So each block has a identifier here, right? So first here in my case the first block is a first statement. It's a example, but you can give the name as a what action you required, change password, right? You can give the SID as a change password policy, right? Then coming to the effect will be allow, because I need a permission. Allow action. Action is a IAM change password. This is the action, what I will do, right? So resource will be star, means here a star I have given, that means on all the services. Okay, so again I closed that statement over there, our first SID, and I'm adding a one more permission over there by writing the SID. So second SID is my I want the list permission on a bucket, right? So effect, again you need to write the effect allow action S3 list all my bucket. I want the action, that is S3 bucket listing action I need. Resources star means all the bucket, there is no any particular bucket. Suppose you want to give a particular bucket access, then you can, in a resource place you need to write the ARN of that bucket. So that we will see that how to write the policies, how to customize the policies, we will see in a future in this video. Okay, let's move. So this is the example policy. I hope it is clear how to write the policy or what are the components of the policy. Now in a policy we have a different types, because here the policies are attached to the users, attached to the resources, right? And some policies are session based for a particular period of time, right? So on that basis we divided the policies. So first type is identity based policy. This identity based policy has three types again: AWS managed policy, custom managed policy, and inline policy. So what is AWS managed policy? See, AWS has already created some policies. Means in AWS account we have already ready-made policies that you can use. So they are the AWS managed policies. Suppose any kind of update in that policy, only the AWS will take care. No need to worry. Okay, let me show you that AWS managed policies. So when I go to the IAM console, so here go to the policies, and here you can see these are the AWS managed policies. See here, suppose you need a S3 bucket access. So when I search for a S3, so here you can see S3 related some policies are there. So this is Amazon S3 full access. When I expand it, you can see the policy here. See version, so the date when they have created, statement, the statement has a effect, action, and resource, right? Effect is allow, action S3 star means S3 full access, okay, and S3 object lambda. So lambda related access also they have given, and resource is star means on all the bucket. In S3 there are multiple buckets we can create, right? So not on a particular bucket, we can, they have given the access on all the bucket. So this is how, guys, these are the policies already created by the S3. Then what about the custom policies? See here, second option is a custom managed policies. What is custom managed policy? See here all the policies are not available. Suppose you want to customize, you want to give the access on a particular bucket, not on all a bucket, right? So then you need to customize this policy, right? So what you can do, you can copy this as an example and edit it according to your requirement, and remove this star and add a particular bucket ARN, so that whatever the new policy you created, that is the custom policy. So custom policies are created by the user as per their requirement, and they can use it. Yeah, they can use it. So they are the custom managed policies. Very easy, right? So inline policy. So what is inline policy? Again, these inline policies are a custom policies only, are a AWS managed policies. But when the user is created, at that time these inline policies are created and attached to the user. Okay, inline policies are created and attached to that user. So whenever you delete that user, this inline policy also get deleted automatically, right? So this inline policy has a life as long as the user exists. Once the user is deleted, inline policies are deleted. So that's the reason. Inline means it is in line with the user. Remember this. Okay, so identity based policies are attached to the identities. Remember, the main difference between the identity based policy, resource based policy is a identity based policy is are attached to the identities like a user, right, or a group, right, or a role. But resource based policies are attached to the resources like AWS services, like you can attach it to the S3 bucket, SNS, SQS. Okay, so here I have clearly mentioned, see, identity based policies, the policies are attached to the user, group, and role. These policies let you specify what that identity can do, right? Once that policy is attached to that user or a group or a role, that they will get the particular type of permission, right? So resource based policy, so these policies are attached to a resources. For an example, you can attach the resource based policy to the S3 bucket, SQS, SNS, VPC endpoint, and AWS key management service. Only these services will use the resource based policies. Remember this. Not all the AWS services. That's the reason I listed particularly here. S3 buckets, SQS, SNS, VPC endpoints, and AWS key management service. Okay. Now, session based policies. So here, a session policy is a permission which user pass in a session when they assume the role. So when we learn the assume role, there I will explain you the session based policies. Okay. These session based policies are for the permissions are given for a particular period of time. Just example, for a hour basis. After 1 hour, the permissions are revoked. Okay, remember this. Got it. Got it. So, identity based policies, resource based policies, and session based policies. These are the main types. In that, in identity based policies, AWS managed policies means AWS already have some policies created that directly you can attach to the user or a group or a role. Or if you want a custom managed policies, you can create or you can customize the policies and you can use it. And inline policies are nothing but you can create the policies while creating the user and attach it. Okay, so we'll see this practically. We'll see, we'll create one user and we'll try to attach that policy to that user. Okay, and before attaching the permission or a policy, I will show you what access he has, and after attaching what access he will get. So there you will get the clarity, right? So go to the AWS, go to the user section, create a user, create a test user, right? So I will not provide a console access, we'll test it in a CLI. Okay, so the test user is created, right? So let me give the CLI access. See here, create the CLI access. If you don't know how to give it, please watch my previous video. So here I created CLI. So this access key and secret key I will delete once the demo is over. Okay, so I will go to the terminal and here I will configure the AWS. And I will use this new access key and secret key. Means I'm trying to log into the AWS using the CLI. Nothing new here. Okay, give the secret key and give the region, in which region I want to be in AP South 1 only. It's a Mumbai region, right? So now I configured the new user, that is test user. So if you want to know whether it is a test user or not, AWS STS get caller identity. So this command will help you to check. So error invalid a token when calling the, I hope here I already logged in. wait, calling the get caller identity option, token invalid, request invalid. Let me check this. So we created the user, test user, and we are trying to log in. So I log in, I got a error. So actually AWS CLI was not configured properly. I deleted the .aws file and reconfigured it, right? So now I am able to get the caller identity. sts get caller identity. So here I logged in as a test user, right? So now what I will do, I will try to access the AWS service like S3 bucket, right? So what is the command? AWS. Okay, if you don't know the commands, then there is a shortcut, AWS help, right? Just ask the help from the AWS. So here you will get the services. Okay, all the services. So list of services. So see here, these are the available services. So out of these service, which service you want to use? So I want to use the S3, right? So AWS S3 again help command. So in S3 what you can do, which command you can run, all thing you will get here. Okay, see here, AWS MB RB LS sync, right? So out of that I want to list the buckets, right? So then what I will use, AWS S3 LS. See, very simple, right? So but there are no, I don't have access. Also there are no any buckets created. What I will do, I will go back here and let me create a S3 bucket. Okay, so quickly I will create on S3 bucket. So go to the buckets, create a new bucket. Give in a Mumbai region, I will give the name as my bucket and today's date. Today state I will give. Okay, so let it be everything default and try to create the bucket. So once the bucket is ready, now again try to access it. Anyhow, this user, test user don't have permission. Okay, see here. See here I'm getting the error, an error occurred, access denied, right? Why? User don't have permission. So how to give the permission? So we already seen what are the policies. Policies will help you to get the permission, right? So let's attach some policies. So go back to the IAM, to the user. See, this is the test user, right? So here you have a permission section, right? So here you can see there are no any permissions attached. So we already know there are AWS managed policies, right? So add permission, and here you have a attach policies. Here these are the AWS managed permissions. Total 1166 1166 policies are there. So out of that, which policy you need? I need S3 related. So filter with the S3. See, S3 full access policy is there, right? Or S3 object lambda related, S3 output full access policy, S3 read only policy is there, right? So if you want to give this read only, then select this, next, add. So you added the read only permission. Now what I will do, I will try to, now I will try to read the S3, right? See here, AWS S3 LS. Now I'm able to list my buckets, right? Because I got a permission. I got a permission. So when I expand this, so here you can see the permission version. Version means when you created this policy, means AWS created it. Statement includes effect, allow, action. So these permissions I have given, right? Like S3 get, S3 list, S3 describe, S3 object lambda, and S3 object lambda list, right? So these, only these actions I have given. I have not given any full access like S3 bucket deletion, right? uh, to put some object into S3 bucket, that access are not given here. So you can restrict the permissions by adding the actions, guys, remember. Okay, now resource means in all I have given access to all buckets. Okay, now this is AWS. This is all about AWS managed policies. So next type is a AWS custom managed policies, right? So custom managed policies, how to create the custom managed policies. So what I will do, I will go back to the policies here, and here you have a create policy option, right? So create it. So which policy you want to create? Okay, so here I want to create the particular list permission. Okay, so use the a JSON format here, because it will be easy for you. Okay, so it is giving you the a statement, right? Suppose you want to add one more statement, see here, add new statement. So in one statement is enough for me now. So here I want to create the policy for S3, right? So select for S3, right? Now it will list you all the actions what you can do on a S3. So here I want to list all my bucket, only list permission I want to give. See here, list permission is added. So on which bucket? So here go to the resource and add S3 all resources. All resource means it is star, right? All resource means star. Suppose you want to add a particular resource. If you want to add a particular resource, then you need to give the ARN of that resource. Okay, so here all resource it is showing. So for now I will add it all resource only. Okay, now this is what our new policy. Copy this one, go to the or it will create. Okay, no need to copy, just create it. So we are creating the policy, right? So give S3 custom policy. This is my custom policy, right? Only S3 list object, list bucket. Only this permission I have given here. No other permissions are there, right? So see here, list permissions are there. Create the policy. It's a special character, it will not take. Okay, create the policy. So policy will be created here, and it will be listed here only in a policies. So when you search for S3 hyphen C here, this was the old one. S3 custom policies just now I created. When you expand it, we'll see the policy. So version, statement, SID is the statement one. You can edit it, right? Suppose still you want to edit this, so here itself you can edit. See here, you can edit it like this. Again it will open in a JSON format, and you can edit it like statement. If you want to change, then you can change the statement and give the name as S3 custom policy. Okay, S3 custom policy, right? So you can give like this. So here I think it will not take this hype underscore. Let me remove this, right? So I removed it. S3 custom policy I given. So you can save it, right? So this is how you can edit the policies also. Once your policy is ready, then you can attach it. So for attaching to the user, again go to the user. So select your user, right? So here if you want to remove this old full access permission, select it and remove it here, right? And if you want to add your custom policy, then go to the policies, search your policy S3 custom, select it, next add permission, right? So your custom permission is added. Got it? So this is how you can create the policy, or you can use the existing AWS managed policy, or you can create your own policies. Then what about the inline policy? Inline policies are, see here, you have a inline policies option here, create inline policy. So what I will do, I will create one more user, create a user. I will give demo. Okay, next So I will not attach any policies. I will directly create the user. Or okay, go to the user and create a inline policy. Right. So this is the inline policy. Inline policy will be same as the identity based policy only, because you are giving a permission, right? So here again I will give the S3 permission, and full access I will select, and resources, all resources I will select. So all resources I will select. Right. So next policy name inline demo. I will give the name inline demo. Okay. Next, see here, inline policy is added here. So when the user is created and policy is attached, inline policy is attached. So as per the definition, this policy will be deleted when the user is deleted, right? So now user is there and user is trying to, okay, now a new user is not configured there. But when the user try to access the resources as per the policy, he will get the access. But when you delete that user, that policy should be deleted, right? So select the demo user and delete it, right? So delete the user. So once the user is deleted, go to the policy and check for your policy, that is inline demo, right? Inline demo, see, policy is not there, it is deleted because user is deleted. So that policy was in line with the user, that's the reason the name was inline policies. Okay, now I hope we it is clear that in identity based policies are created and attached to the identities only. Identities like user, group and role, right? You can attach the same policies to the group also. Okay, here you can create the groups. See, user group, here you can create a group name is a DevOps group, right? And attach some policy. So see here, these are the AWS managed policy you can attach. So if you attach this administrator policy, no, I will not attach. So I will search for S3. No, you should not give the administrator policy, guys. It is equal to the admin policy only. Okay. So see here, I created the group and given the S3 full access permission. So whatever the user you add to this group, by default they will get the permission now, right? See, now this a test user has a S3 full S3 custom policy, right? What I will do, I will add this user to a group now. So how to add? Go to the group, go to the DevOps group, right? So permission, see here, it has a S3 full access. Users, there are no users now. So add users, select the user, add user, right? So I added the user. Right, now go to the user section and click on a test. See here, this was not earlier available, right? Because earlier this test user was not a part of DevOps group, right? Now when I added this user to the DevOps group, here that permission was taken, that group permission was taken, and this is a user permission. This is the user permission. So this is how you can attach the identity based policies to the user, group and role. That role things we will see clearly in the next video. So now we'll discuss further about resource based policies. Okay, so this part is complete. So resource based policies, so as the name indicates, resource based policies are attached to the resources. Okay, so resources in the sense, so here you are given the clear names of the resources: S3, SQS, SNS, VPC endpoint, AWS key management services, right? So these all the services will get attached with the resource based policies. So let's see that. So here I will take an again S3 bucket example only. See here, this S3 bucket example. So what I will do here, so here this is my bucket, and this bucket is not publicly available. When I go to the property, so permission, When I go to the permission, this is public access is restricted, right? So how to give the public access? How to give the access to this bucket? One thing is, earlier we seen this identity based policy, right? This is an example of identity based policy where I added the S3 list all bucket permission, right? And action, in action S3 list all buckets, resource star effect allow. And once this policy is ready, I attach it to the identity. Same way I need to create a resource based policy like this. So what is the difference here? What is the difference here in a identity based policy and resource based policy? So main difference is principle, right? So in identity based policy, principle is not there, but in resource based policy, principle will be there. Why? See, the resource, we are attaching this policy to the resource, but who who will to whom you are giving the access, that you need to mention there. So principle is the to whom the policy is assumed, right? So this policy is assumed to the a user, means I want to give the access to this user, right? So that's the reason the principal section will come here. In a principal section, give the user here, user detail. Okay, now user detail means the ARN of that user, remember this. Okay. Okay, so copy this resource based policy and attach it to the S3 bucket. So what it will do, it will give the access to the this ARN, this user, right? So see here, action S3 full access, right? On a resource, this is the bucket ARN, and principal, see here, principal is the who want to get the access on S3 bucket, right? So copy this and go to the S3 bucket. So here you have a policy. So edit this bucket policy. See, this is the bucket ARN. So paste it here. Sorry. Copy it and paste it. So it is not taking properly. Let me select the content, or let me generate it here itself. See, add statement, right? Statement 1. So principal, who will be the principal? So here AWS ARN, right? So this is the part. So AWS ARN, in my case what I will do, before generating, I will go to the policies, I will go to the user, and I will remove that all the permission. See, for a user, test user, I have this permission, remove this, right? So fail to remove the permission, wait, okay, select it and remove. So permissions are removed, right? Now let me go to the terminal and I will show you. Now I don't have a permission, right? So there is a other way to get the permission by the resource based policy, right? In a resource based policy, I need a user ARN. See, this is the ARN. Give the ARN here. So AWS ARN. This is the ARN, right? Allow what action you want to give. So here I will go to the S3 and S3 full access I want to give, and resources will be the ARN. This is the bucket ARN. Add the resource on a bucket ARN, paste it, add. See, a resource based policy is ready. So save it. Right, now I have given a permission to the user, right, on this bucket. See, this is the other way of giving the permission. One was earlier the identity based policy we created and we attached it to the user. Now I created the resource based policy and I attach it to the resources, and there I mentioned the username. So this user will get the access. Let's try this now. Okay, now I will try to access it. See, access denied, it is showing. To the issue is with the policy. Let me update this policy. Okay, so after adding the resource based policy, I'm able to list the still I'm able to list the object, right? Object means this is the data uploaded in a bucket, right? See, here difference is when I go to the test user, if you see the user don't have permission, but when I go to the resource has a permission. See, I attached the resource based policy, and here the principal is the user, means this user has a access now on this bucket. So that's the reason this user is able to access the or list the bucket content, right? So this is what the resource based policy. So now the conclusion is you can give the access on the you can give the access on the basis of you can give the access on a basis of adding the identity based policy. Use the identity based policy and create it and attach it to the user so that user get the access, or create a resource based policy and attach it to the resource, and here you need to mention the principal. Okay, principal means to whom you want to give the access. So this principal will be the user, so that you are attaching the policy to the resource, but you are allowing this user for this resource, right? So this is vice versa. So now we will understand this by referring this table. Okay, so these are the examples. For this is the identity based policy and this is the resource based policy, and this is a table. See, here difference between identity based policy and resource based policy. In identity based policies, these are the user A, user B, user C, and user D. So for user A, by creating the identity based policy, I have given a list and read access on a resource A, right? And for user B, I created the identity based policy and given a list and read access on a resource B, right? So same way, user C has a list and read and write access on a resource ABC. User C has a list, read, and write access on a resource ABC. User D don't have any kind of policy, right? Now here the scenario is resource A, there is a policy on a resource A also. So it has a means it is allowing the user A to list and read and user C to list and read, right? So there is a resource B where I attached the resource based policy, right? And where I allowed the user B to list and write and user D to list and write. So C is there, user where I allowed the user B. So resource C I'm not allowing, there is a deny access. Okay, so here always remember, if anywhere if I allowed the user B in an identity based policy, if you see user B don't have access here, but user B on a resource C, user B is denied. By any chance user B has access on a resource C, but deny will take a precedence here. Okay, that is what. So user B is denied here, user D is allowed full access. Here user D don't have permission, but here in a resource policy user D has a full access, remember. So here you will get the conclusion. User A can list and read a resource A, right? So see, these are the permission: list, read, write, deny, and full access. So user A, what he can do, he can list on a resource A, read on a resource A, right? But he don't have a write permission there is no any denial also, and there is no any full access also. User b user b has a list and read on a resource b. So same way, so user b has a list on a user b, resource b, and read on a resource b, right? So user c. And one more thing, this user b has a write also. So where I have given that, see here, in a user b, in identity based policy only a list and read access I given, but in a resource b, on a resource side, I'm allowing the user b to list and write also, right? So that's the reason write permission also user b is getting. The table I have created because of this only, okay, to explain you how the identity based policy and resource based policy works. If you are allowing the permission in the identity based policy, and if you are not allowing the resource based policy, still it will work. And if you are not allowing in a identity based policy and you allowed it in a resource based policy, still it work, okay. And if you allowed in a identity based policy, but you allowed it in a identity based policy, but you denied it in a resource based policy, then still deny works. Deny take a precedence here. That you can see here in a resource c, uh, on a resource c. See here, on a user b is denied on a resource c, right? In a deny column you can see that user b is denied on a resource c, right? So again, user c has a list read and write access on a all abc. Means user c has a list on resource abc, read on abc, write on abc, right? But it is denied, there is no any denial and full access. But when it comes to the user d don't have a, it has a access. User don't have identity based policy, but he will get the access. How? There is a resource based policy. See, resource b is allowing the user d here. See here, so user d can list. So that's the reason user d can, has access on a resource b and read access on a resource b, and user d has a full access on a resource c here. See, in a full access I've given it, okay. So understand this table clearly. Repeat the video if you are not able to understand, okay. So identity based policies are attached to the user group and roles. Resource based policies are attached to the resources like s3, sns, sqs, right? And some efpc endpoint and key management encryption, there you can attach it. So what is the difference? So difference is when you allow the user, when you create the permission and attach it to the identity, and he can access the resource. But same way, when you are not, when the user don't have an identity based policy, but resource is allowing that user, then still that user can access it, right? So here in the last example I shown that only. So i I was, so I logged in as a AWS sts get caller identity, see here I logged in as a test user, right? So this test user don't have any permission, any kind of policy he don't have. See here, I'm, when I go to the test user, and if you see here, there is no any there is no any policy attached, right? But still he can access the s3 bucket. How? See here, s3 AWS s3 list, this bucket name means whatever the data inside that bucket is listing here. So this is the data, right? So how is the user is able to access it? Because this s3 bucket has a resource based policy attached, and there this user is, test user is allowed. Let's see here, this bucket, my bucket 18 12 23, it has a resource based policy where principal is my user. Principal means who want to access the resource. My test user wants to access this resource, right? And resource based policy, resource will be that bucket ARN. Very simple guys, okay. So in the next class, we'll see, next video, we'll see what is session based policy. For that, we need to understand this assume role concept. Okay, a separate video I will create on this. Okay, thank you.